element of amongst the screen. I actually found this in one of our collections, and I think we feel sort of just kind of bursting with ideas and energy about how to different ways of responding to the changes that we find in our environment, but they're frustrated by the many things that tie us down. You know, and Kurt gave a fantastic run through of some of those frustrating elements: the budget, our users, some of our colleagues, Google, and so on. But I think my sense of the profession is that there's this kind of great energy within our profession, among our colleagues and our institutions, of different ways, different approaches to try and deal with these frustrations and to burst those chains out. And I'd just like to talk through a few of the things, some snapshots of the things that are happening in Oxford as we approach these challenges ourselves. I'd like to talk about space, collections, systems, services, and discovery. And first of all, space. This is our estates and buildings are an area of major change for us at the moment. To some extent, it's problems that we've faced for many decades that we're only now able to deal with. The first of those is the creation of a major off-site store, 9 million volume capacity, able to deal with our own intake of traditional print, which is still at the range of between 3,000 and 5,000 volumes a week. That's partly because we're a legal deposit library, but also part of the aspect of creating this new big off-site store, it's about 25 miles away from the centre of Oxford, is that we'll be delivering, we expect, as much through scan-on-demand services as through the delivery of the print and the physical artefact. We're also involved in a major exercise to rationalise our estate, to reduce the number of sites that we currently occupy as departmental and faculty libraries, and to reduce them into larger and more efficient buildings, and at the same time to create new learning and research spaces. And this is very much echoing some of the points that Kurt made in his keynote. I think perhaps one of the differences between what we're doing is also creating some aspects of our building programme to emphasise the library as a cultural repository and the role of exhibitions and other forms of interaction with campus and with the general public that the library, our library has to make. Just show you a few pictures of those. This is our new off-site store. This is an image of our new humanities library. That's going to bring currently 11 site libraries into one integrated humanities library, and a major refurbishment of one of our 1920s buildings as a special collections centre, exhibition centre, auditorium, those kinds of functions. In terms of collections, like many of you, we are working as hard as we possibly can to manage the uniformity of licensed and commonly held print resources more efficiently than we can, to do that kind of back office work that Kurt was talking about, and to try to have more product and less process in the workflow. And in doing so, our aim is to try and devote more resources than we can on our unique materials, both our unique physical collections and the unique materials that are created by our researchers in terms of research data and research outputs from our own community in Oxford. And within that, there's an urgency in our drive to the digital. We're doing a huge amount of digitisation. We are one of the partners with Google in their library's digitisation programme. We're also doing a huge amount of work with Born Digital Materials and our own institutional digital assets. And in time, with our partners in the national libraries in the UK, we will be doing more with electronic legal deposit as well. And you know, one of the key elements that we're trying to do, I'll talk about a little bit in a moment, is to bring some of the boutique digitisation projects for our unique materials together in common platforms. And we're also, through a project called Future Arch, we're developing a kind of industrial strength system to deal with electronic manuscripts, the digital equivalent of the private paper collections that an institution like the Bodleian Library is an important player in the research library world in. And some of that is doing bulk extraction from media, what we are calling digital archaeology, to developing systems where we're taking material, digital material direct from the systems used by politicians and authors and people in a high profile in public life. In terms of systems, we're trying to integrate our digital infrastructure and, as much as we can. A key component of that is the creation of our own digital asset management system, which has been built on the Fedora repository software as a common platform. And also to develop as much as we can outward integration with other university systems. We have one particular project called GRI, Building Research Information Infrastructure, which is trying to connect our institutional repository with the other research grant and researcher systems that are growing like topsy all over the university system. And our implementation of Shibboleth to try and develop a single sign-on across these systems within the university. And it's just a kind of a picture of where we're trying to get to. Our own research support systems are also changing, very similar to the ways that Kurt was describing earlier. We're trying to develop teams that support researchers through the creation and hosting of digital projects that are supporting research projects within the university as they're looking to digital systems to support their own research activities. And we're also behaving much more like a publisher now. And there are 3 projects which Electronic Enlightenment is a project that's supporting researchers in the long 18th century. It's providing an online database of 18th century correspondence throughout the world. And that is a subscription model, working with OUP as our distributor. We have another project called Electronic Ephemera, which is about the digitisation of a major collection of printed ephemera, where it's free in the UK, but outside of the UK there is a subscription that's based on the funding, the project funding that created it. And then there's another model which is our collaboration with the University of Michigan to do full text encoding of the early English books online resource, which is based on a partnership model. So libraries are invited to contribute funds as a partner, and then they have free access to what we have created so far, which is 29,000 electronic texts, and we have another 50,000 to go. And then, of course, through our partnership with Google Books, we've just completed the first phase of our partnership with Google in scanning around 400,000 books, 19th century public domain books from our collection, and they're freely available through the Google service. There's just some screenshots of those projects. And then finally, in terms of search, the work that we're doing there, we still have a huge backlog of retroconversion. I'm slightly ashamed to say, a massive card catalogue drawers. We still have a major archive that the only finding aid is still a 19th century handwritten list that's actually 50,000 pages long. So there's a huge amount of work to do to convert the finding aids that we have. We want to integrate, like many of you, all of the diverse systems that are currently operating through the use of Primo. And then to do more of that outward integration with other university systems, both the learning and research environments, subject repositories that are held in faculties, and then also to do that outward integration with other discovery systems out there to put our data in the user's workflow in places like Google and WorldCat and Flickr and so on. And just to give you a sense of the trajectory that we're working on, we have put a huge amount of investment in our electronic resources, like the rest of you. And we do find that there's a significant return on that investment, where the research intensity in Oxford is very high. And pleasingly, since the year or so since we implemented Primo, we have seen a significant shift towards both the increasing amount of search, but also Primo grabbing an increasing share of that search activity within Oxford. But of course, as Kurt said, the search pie is growing, and Google is growing each share of the pie faster than anyone. So thank you very much.